One is a little bit about some little bit modern history in China and how I grew up there, the experience. But main thing I want to talk about is, since this is about globalization, economy, global cooperation, I want to talk about certain things that we should know about a country like China. If you have interest in the future to venture into that part of the world. Do you know which is the second largest economy in the world today? China. Surpassing Japan about 2 years ago in gross national product. China is also, as you know, world's largest manufacturer. This year, China is about to become the world's largest consumer. So when you have the world's most populous country with 1.5 billion people, and which is about to become the world's largest consumer, you got a business opportunity. So this is sort of a general a landscape. Do you know what's United States national debt today? 15 trillion. And we are going towards 20. We're by far own the most amount of money than any other nation to the rest of the world. And who do we owe the money the most to? China, which is about 10%. So somewhere around 1 to 1.5 trillion is the money we owe to China. So let me ask you, if you have a business today, whatever it is, making shoes, brewing beers, making clothes, medical office, technology, or whatever business you have, what do you think is the number one challenge for you as a business owner today? Number one challenge. You see, throughout this lecture today, I'd like to share with you not just about the content of what I'm going to talk about. It's also way through which I would like to think about things. So I'm going to try to share with you some of the pearls I've learned how to think about things. So here it is. Pearl number one. What I learned in life is more than just the identification of challenges. Because we all can do that. If you're going to do something, say, well, it's hard because of this. It's hard to do that because of that, because that, because that. You can identify many, many challenges. But life is much more than identification of challenges. Life is about ranking of challenges. Challenge yourself. Next time you do something which is difficult, and there are 5 difficulties you have to overcome in order to do something, challenge yourself to rank it. See whether you can actually pick out the most important. Being able to rank challenges lies in the heart of human experience. You're going through life, you're always constantly prioritizing, constantly ranking. So that's ranking. If you're a business owner today, what will be the number one challenge today? You got 10 different challenges, how to own a business and make successful nationally or internationally, globally. But let's say in this country, what do you think, or other country, what do you think is the number one challenge you're facing in order to make a business successful?
Getting enough customers.
Wow, who said that? You hit nail right on head. The number one challenge today is how to get enough customers. Business of yesterday, 50, 100 years ago, that was not the case. Now let me ask you. Something happened several months ago which was unprecedented in human history. Every time you saw something very unusual happen, you got to think about, because there's something you can learn. Facebook. Overnight became a $100 billion company through its initial IPO, surpassing company like GM, or Walter Disney, with all its creativities and ingenuities and hard work over 100 years. Facebook surpassed that in 7 years. So when something like this happens, you got to think about it. Say, what is it here that I can learn something about? Why Facebook? I would say Facebook and Google's represent new type of companies compared with Microsoft, even Apple, and others. I call it business of the past. Facebook and Google's are business of today. The new type of business. So what is it fundamentally set these two businesses apart? Fundamental attributes, not less or more, but present or absent. Or present and absent. Something 0 to 1, not just a matter of quantity. So what qualitative attribute that the business of today, Google's and Facebook has, that business of past businesses of past did not have? Yes?
Accessibility?
Accessibility. Okay. That's interesting. Well, Apple, Microsoft, you can access to it. Maybe today we have more accessibility because technology, yes.
It's free.
But I would say that's more of degree difference. It's not a fundamental attribute absent and present of any certain attribute. Anything else? Something fundamentally set aside today's business. Come on, think. I want to interact. Yes.
Anyone all over the world, regardless of their race or their
universality or
economic.
globalization or pay. Yeah, okay.
Like,
People have more access, but I would say Microsoft is pretty widely accessed from around the world. Something fundamentally set apart business of today, which is Google and Facebook, and the business of yesterday, which is GM, Microsoft, and Apple.
Well, I was going to say that they actually have physical products and Google and Facebook their own.
Good thinking. Let's start with that thought process. She said those companies of yesterday have physical products. Business today, Google and Facebook do not have physical product. Let's follow that process a little bit. What is the traditional wisdom when you're going to have a business? You're going to have a business, you say, I'm going to make a tennis racket. I'm going to make a computer. So cost-effective calculation, how much it takes to make that computer, what's the profitability, blah, 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 right? You make money by selling the product you actually make. Does Facebook make money? Does it sell the product, which is social network, make money out of it? No, not directly. The fundamental difference of business today, and it's along that thought process, that is, business of yesterday makes something and sell that physical product. Business of today, such as Google and Facebook, the product you make actually not only does not give you any revenue, actually you consume your money, resources, to provide that product. Google has to have Google University and spend millions every year to maintain the search engine. Facebook has to spend millions every year to maintain its social network. So then how do these companies make money? Advertising. So I never heard this term, but I just coined this. I call the business of today is called indirect business. Business of yesterday, I call it direct business. Because you make money off the product you manufacture. Today, you kind of go a roundabout way. You make a product, the product not only does not make money for you, it actually consumes money to maintain that product, but then you got enough visitors and people come to advertise. Why this type of line of indirect business exists today? Why didn't it exist yesterday? Why this type of go a roundabout way doing business, meaning make a product is really not the purpose of it. Social network itself is just merely to attract people and then make revenue by having people come and advertise there. Why this line of business didn't exist yesterday? Who give Facebook money? Advertisers, right? So that means that logically implies there is unprecedented importance of marketing. Unprecedented importance. Why there is such an unprecedented importance of marketing today? That's the whole reason drive the revenue of Facebook and Google, right? It's because yesterday, supply, demand. Today, supply, demand. The fundamental inversion of supply and demand drives modern economy. And it's one of the fundamental change of landscape in business today. Almost everything you do, there are others who are doing the similar things. So because of that, if I pull a bunch of business owners today and say, God's going to give you one wish, grant you one wish, you're going to make your business successful. What is it? Oh, it could be business management, financial management, personal management, blah, blah, blah. No, none of these will be number one. Life is about ranking, right? The number one bet, most of business people will say, give me customers. That's what you said earlier. Because most people know that trade. You know, if you bring the customer to the door, they can take care of it. Okay, so now you recognize the number one need for business today is what? Yesterday's number one challenge was internal, how to make a product. Today's number one challenge today is how to sell a product. It's external now, the challenge, external to the company. So what is the number one step in selling a product? Again, I'm going to repeat my theme. I'm going to ask you to identify the challenges, but more importantly, I'm going to ask you to do what? Ranking the challenges. So rank all the challenges you're going to sell a product. What's the number one on top? Yes?
Get your target market.
Target market, that means understand your customers. That is the number one in all the challenges you face when you try to sell a product. That is where United States is falling short. We have become the world's largest, the country who owes the most amount of money to the rest of the world. We consume the most, we are being serviced, we are increasingly getting less and less our competitive advantage in our product offered to the rest of the world is because we have become complacent and did not do the number one thing in selling our product to the rest of the world, which is what? Understand your customers. Now you say, Dr. Wang, give me evidence. We're in the university, academic learning here. We like evidences. I won't give you many evidences. When was the first time you discovered something made in China? Oh, you walk into Electronic Express, you saw the Sony camera, you started buying a Japanese camera, you turn around, made in China. Have you seen fanfare of advertisement made in China? Heavy TV ads, newspaper ads? No, it's just there. Chinese product, whether sweater or toys or computers or camera, it's just there for you as a consumer. You reach out at the time you need, where you need it, and what you need. Now, many of you study marketing, distribution, packaging, sales will understand that is a result of a concerted, long-term, many years efforts. It didn't just happen by chance. To have a product with an arm reach of a consumer, of the type of product, at the price range, where and when this consumer wants. So what China has done, if you ask me, you say, Dr. Wang, I'm going to ask you to rank. Dr. Wang, rank for me what's the number one reason why China is successful in selling. It's because it has been doing the most important fundamental. You recognize sales, number one, challenge to any business today, and among the sales, understand customers, number one. They study. Chinese study all of us. They understand exactly what we want, what type of product, our taste, our price range sensitivity, affordability. That's lots of work behind the scene. We don't know, but it has happened. It did not result. It was not an accident China has been able to sell so much stuff to us because they did the homework. Have we done our homework? How much do you know about China? Now here you say, well, here we are, United States, we're going to maintain our success in the global economy. The way a company cannot be successful if it cannot sell its product. A country cannot be successful today if it cannot sell its product. The country will go down the drain if you keep on buying. It's not healthy. It is not healthy to keep on buying. What we want to do in this country? Education, healthcare. Both take money. Doesn't matter who will become the president. If you don't have money, you cannot tackle healthcare and education. How can a country have money? Is to have positive foreign trade, selling more than buying. So, then you say, Dr. Wang, give me a more concrete evidence why China is doing better in terms of understanding us than what we're doing in terms of understanding them. If you go to China, many citizens today can speak basic level of English. It's not that easy to study a foreign language. You know, after dinner you want to kick back and grab a beer and watch tigers. You don't want to study another foreign language, right? It's human moment inertia. We're lazy as human beings. But they study the number of Chinese who can speak basic level of English has just surpassed the entire United States population. For 10,000 Chinese who can speak basic level of English, we cannot find one American who can speak comparable level of Mandarin. That is the complacency for you. That is the lack of curiosity for you. And to learn about another culture is not just the right thing to do as a world citizen, but it's morally the right thing to do to learn about others, to work together, but also it's economic necessity now because we know so little about other countries. And now a country like China is about to become our biggest consumer, biggest customer. How can you conduct a business of any company without spending a focused time prioritizing the learning of your customers? And that is the significance of teaching such as Professor Corey Perkins and others. Corey invited me to talk about globalization and business. And I want to start with that theme. That is, so far what I cover is the number one challenge to business today in 21st century is sell. It's external. That is what drives Facebook $100 billion overnight success. That is indirect companies. The product itself, the next company you're going to build, think creatively. It's not the product you're going to manufacture is going to make money. It's the fact you can attract many visitors and secondarily attract advertisers make money. Why advertising want to spend billions advertising on your site? It's because marketing has assumed an unprecedented importance. Why marketing has assumed such an unprecedented importance today in business is because supply to demand ratio inversion. So you got to understand your customers. I want to share with you a little bit about where I came from. I grew up in a town called Cultural Revolution. Last night you had the presidential debate. Different ideas thrown about how to fix the economy, how to restore prosperity in this country. But to me, coming from another country, my personal take on it is, whatever the government wants to do, remember first and foremost, this is a nation of freedom and choice. Don't ever forget. America has become successful because of freedom of choice. People from around the world wants to come live here. It's because of freedom and choice. We got to, at the end of the day, remember that's the most precious. Because I grew up in a country there during Cultural Revolution, 1966. Communist government decided the best way to keep on governing is to destroy the freedom. Destroy. You know, I spend every day taking care of blind patients and sight restoration surgeries. You know the people who appreciate the sight the most? The people who don't have it. Human nature is genetically programmed for some reason that we do not appreciate something when we do have it. So I'm going to share with you from the experience of having not. 1966, they shut down all colleges. Why? Because the dictator decided the best way to keep on governing. Again, you say, Dr. Wang, wait a minute, what do I need to learn about this thing? Well, if you're going to do business with a country like China, world's largest consumer this year is going to become, you need to know a little bit about history, people and culture, right? So I want to share with you a little bit where this country has come from. So the dictator decided the best way to keep on dictating is to keep people ignorant. The best way to keep people ignorant is to destroy the future of young people. Destroy. You say, what? This could happen in modern time in a big country like China? Yes, it did. It destroyed the future of 20 million people, shut down colleges for 10 years. So all these young people were sent away to the poorest part of the country and condemned a life of poverty and hard labor. It turns out one way to escape deportation is to have a music talent. If you can play some kind of instrument, you can dance, communist government may allow you to stay in the city because they are propaganda troops. They need a song, singer and dancers. So I picked up this instrument, Chinese violin, not for love of music. Corey, can we turn off this violin? Yes, it is. Yeah. But for sheer need to survive. Now I dance as hobby, play music as hobby, but when people say, wow, why you learn all that? I learn it because I have to survive, a way to escape deportation. I remember I picked up this instrument, and it's an instrument with a pole, with a sound box covered with snake skin. And I was playing this melancholy sound. This instrument is a gentle, soulful, and touch of melancholy, beautiful sound. And I was playing, and I was resonating with these music that are composed by a blind artist who had this very famous piece called Two Springs Reflecting the Moon. Depicting an evening, you walk out at night on the bank of a pond, you see the moon shining down, two springs converging, the image of the moon. It is a beautiful piece, not only because it depicts beautiful natural scene, but it's also because it was an imagined beauty. Because the composer could not see. He was imagining how beautiful it would have been if he could see. So it's a piece filled with longing, unfulfilled longing and hope and frustration and distraught, or not having. Now I realize why I was resonating when I was 14 years old. I was playing this instrument, trying to find a way to escape deportation and lifetime poverty of communist government. Because we resonated, I should be at age 14, I should be looking forward to a life of opportunities and learning and, happiness, but I was at the end of the road because I was going to be deported. I was a stray student, I had zero chance to go to college because all colleges were shut down. So I was resonating with the feeling of this blind artist because he could not see physically. I could not see mentally any future. Then communist government put an end to the music learning because there was sudden fun interest in music by hundreds of thousands youngsters all at once. So communist government recognized the true purpose of the learning music by these youngsters has nothing to do with music, but mere intention to avoid deportation. So they put an end to my music learning. I tried to study medicine to no avail. In 1976, the dictator died. Why Cultural Revolution occurred? Any idea? Why did Holocaust in Germany occur? Why did genocide in Rwanda and other countries?
Complacency.
Complacency. No, you got to have an opinion. Those are significant events in modern human history. Nazis, Cultural Revolution, rape of Nanking,
The power of leaders.
and they abused it. The fundamental lesson of Nazis that we learned from watching Germany in World War II, Cultural Revolution, is when an individual or government has too much power, it will invariably abuse it. Because there's no check and balance. Of course it's an abuse. It's just human nature. So that's why I said the biggest thing I take away from the debate last night is I'm watching which president is going to do a better job in preserving what's the most precious in America, which is freedom and choice. Freedom and choice by us, U.S. citizens. So, the dictator died. This abusive Chairman Mao died. All of a sudden, China realized what a tragic mistake they had made upon itself by having destroyed a generation of young people. Today, you go to China, it's very interesting. You go deal with business men and women, you see business leaders in their 60s and 70s, business leaders in their 30s and 40s, but there's this missing generation in their 50s, still not there. In the prime of their life in 1960s and 70s, when they finished junior high, senior high, they were deported, and many of them were never heard from again. So, I finished my junior high, 9th grade. I didn't go to senior high because I was going to be deported by the government. So then I spent my senior high, the time I should have been going to senior high was studying, playing erhu and learning dancing and learning medicine illegally. But then, 1976, college entrance examination was reopened again after 10 years being stopped. So my father said, now you can go to college. I said, wow, I never thought I could go to college ever. I never had a B in my studying career. But despite that, I never got the chance to go to college. So I said, Daddy, I'm supposed to study 9th. I guess I forgot everything. Last 2 or 3 years, I forgot everything. I'm going to restart my 9th. He said, no. He said, when is the entrance examination is going to take place? After 10 years being stopped? In 2 months, 2 or 3 months. He said, you are to study 3 years of senior high worth of course and compete with 12th grade graduating class and to be placed within the top 1 or 2%. Why such a small percentages? Because the 10-year backlog of all these youngsters were kicked out into poor part of the country. Many of them try to come back. So we have 10 times more students trying to get into college that year. Because college entrance examination was shut down for 10 years. So it's only 1 or 2% of the 12th grade graduating class, the senior class. And I was a junior, finished 9th. And I told my father, you got to be kidding, you're crazy. I can't jump over the 3 years and in 2 months and score among the top 1 or 2% of the 12th grade. He said, you ought to do that. Why? My father said that. Why he did want to almost kill his son? He could shoot you. I mean, well, we can go to college now to restart your 9th and go to 10th, 11th, and 12th. Why he forced me to do something so punishing? Any idea? The very inability of all of us to answer this question is one of the 2 points, the first point of my lecture today. Living in this country, we take freedom and choice so for granted. My father wants me to do that. In 2 months, I jump over the entire 3 years and try to compete and top into 1%. Is because he said, how many years communist government has shut down the colleges and examination? 10 years. Now we could go to college now. He said, who is to say next year communist government will not shut down another 10 years? So this may be your only chance to go to college in your lifetime. Living in a communist country, he appreciates freedom and choice. He knew how precious it was. He knew it could be taken away anytime. The very fact that we could not answer that question, why he wanted me to jump over this in 2 months, is because we take freedom and choice so much for granted. So I met a visiting American professor who lent me some money, and I was trying to impress him with English, asking him a question. So he helped me. So 1982 with $50 borrowed, and enough money borrowed from relatives I landed in America. With that $50, English dictionary, Chinese, knowing no one in this big country, but with an American dream. I work very hard. Sometimes people say, why work so hard? I said, I work hard because the reason I work hard is because from the experience of having not. You only appreciate freedom and choice when you no longer have it. So what happened to China today? As I said, it's about to become the world's largest consumer. It's a giant, it has an awakening. It's the size of the United States, 4 times the population, 1/10 of the inhabitable land. So population density, 4 times 10, 40. It has significant impact upon consumer behavior, economics, marketing, and all these business product sales. We all know Great Wall, built 2,000 years ago by hand. This thing snake on top of mountains for 4,000 miles. So we all know the physical significance of Great Wall because it is one of the humankind's engineering achievements, astonishing. 2,000 years ago, without any crane. But few of us recognize the mental significance of Great Wall. Mental. What does it tell you? A people will spend decades of the entire country, a third of the country, build a wall to wall itself in. It says something about people. Maybe they are suspicious of things from outside. They're more defensive. They're more inward looking. You got to understand those cultural attributes if you want to interact with folks over there. Forbidden City, built for one man, the emperor. China's got 5,000-year history. It's the most influential culture, and the famous philosopher is Confucius. Now, Confucius is much more than the little wise saying in your fortune cookie when you go to Chinese restaurant. I'll tell you, the first time I came to this country, second day in 1982, right? A friend, brought me to a Chinese restaurant, and I sat down and saw this fortune cookie. I go, "What's this?" He said, "Didn't you just come from China?" I said, "Yeah, but I've never seen one of those." The truth is, somebody told me it was invented somewhere in California or Georgia. So we open the fortune cookie, and there's this wise saying in a little piece of paper in English. And I go, I didn't know Confucius knew English. So Confucius is much more than the little wise saying in the fortune cookie. What does Confucianism represent?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. Good. Now you say, oh my God, I never thought about it. I just thought of the wise saying in the fortune cookie that's extended. That is my 2 points. Appreciate freedom and choice. Second is how little do we know about the rest of the world. And to learn about another culture and people is no longer just the right thing to do morally as a world citizen, but it's an economic necessity now because they are our customers. And the first step in sell is to understand customers. Confucius Confucianism. MTSU has the distinction of having one of only two Confucius Institute in the state of Tennessee. Confucians represent three things. Wisdom, which is synonymous with scholarship, respect, scholarship, knowledge. Second, respect seniority. Somebody, just the fact that somebody who's older walk in the room, that's the reason you should respect him or her. He has been there, he has done that. As contrasting to our society, we worship teenagers. All movie industry make money based on box office projection based on teenagers. Number three, put a stamp of what you do. Once I had dinner with Councilor Sato, Consul General of Japan. We had dinner and I said, Counselor, I always have this question. Now here is, you're Japanese, I got a chance to ask you. What is it about Japan? What is deep down cultural attributes that when they make something unique, they do the best job they could? Japan may not invent something, but Japan can perfect something. When they make a car, they make the best car. They make a screwdriver, they are dedicated to make that best screwdriver. I said, what did that come from? What did the sense of perfection sometimes fly in the face of profitability? Modern society is about efficiency, profitability, but quality, sometimes you have to go the other way. So what is it? Japanese like to make things good quality, sometimes even. It doesn't make as much profit. So you know what his answer was? He said, it's cultural root, it's cultural influence, it's genetics, it's the cultural background, and history. I said, who in the history that play a significant role in shaping this sense of perfection? Shaping that put a stamp on something. If I make this chair, Ming make this chair, I'm going to make this chair the best I can. It's going to make some money maybe, but the fact that I make this chair as a human being, that's my pride. I put a stamp on this as a human being. I said, where does that mentality come from? And he said, Confucius. He said, that has been the most dominant philosophy in Japan as well. So these are three founding cornerstones of Beijing Opera. It's interesting to think about why this giant has been sleeping. Maybe because to the genetic inwardness